Okay, today I'm going to talk about this problem where I can't pull this key out of the ignition. Normally that you have to push this transmission in park, and then this is supposed to be you press this button and you can remove the key, but right now I just cannot remove it. So I suspect that it has something to do with the switch on the shifter over here. Underneath the shifter there should be a white color switch somewhere here that tells the solenoid inside here that the transmission is in park, so it should release this solenoid over here so I can remove the key. But right now something is wrong somewhere, I don't know where, so I'm gonna have to diagnose it. I've pulled the battery power, that's the first step, and yet I still cannot remove the key. It's still stuck there. The car works fine, I can start it, I can drive it around, everything works well, but I just cannot pull the key out. So the first step is I need to remove this armrest, I need to remove this console over here, and this cover, gearbox cover, so I can access this shifter mechanism underneath here, and also need to remove this steering mechanism cover so that I can see what's going on over here. I may have to remove this lock barrel out. So for today it's Friday night, so I'm just gonna spend maybe 30 minutes just to remove all these trims and this panel and covers over here, and continue with the diagnosis tomorrow. Okay, I've removed all the trim and including the metal cover over here, so I can have full access to the shifter mechanism. I need to remove 1, 2, 3, 4 of these bolts, and then I can remove the shifter mechanism, and of course not forgetting the lever underneath that connects to the gearbox. So I need to remove that, and I can pull this whole thing up, and I've disconnected the wires going to the wiring harness from the chassis, so I can pull everything out. I discovered something here. This is the switch over here that controls the gear position indicator. So I'm gonna need to take this apart and try to rebuild this, and I'm gonna show you the amount of slop we have here. See, back and forth is making a lot of noise, and it's wiggling a lot back and forth and left and right. This is a lot of slop, so I'm going to fix this one shot by changing the bushings. This should help a lot also. Okay, I've removed all the auxiliary solenoids. There's one here, I don't know what it does, maybe it's to safety interlock, and I have another one here, I think this is for the door. So I remove all these including the ignition switch, and yet I still cannot release the key even I press the button. So whatever it is, it's a mechanical issue with this tumbler itself. So I'm gonna have to remove this tumbler, and I'm gonna send it to my good friend since he can do it, he can fix it. Probably I'll let him have a go with it. So it's not with the interlock with this gearbox, but anyway, since there's so much slop here, I'm gonna rebuild this anyway. Right, so I'm gonna open this now. This is in the correct position, ACC, and there's a pin over here. Just need to press this in and I can pull this out. I'm gonna start doing it now. Okay, looks like I got the lock cylinder out, and I was wrong. There's nothing wrong with this lock cylinder, because right now I can easily turn it from ACC to lock, and I can remove the key. So whatever happening is not, the problem is not here, it's somewhere inside here. I don't know what is it exactly. It's probably this this solenoid mechanism over here that is stopping the cam from turning. I don't know why. This one seems to be working the way it's supposed to, like the release. So this is working well, so it has to be somewhere here. I'm still trying to figure it out. Once I figure it out, I'll let you guys know what it is. Okay, I've confirmed that there's nothing wrong with this tumbler over here. This is completely okay. So I don't know, something must have happened over here with this safety plunger. This is supposed to pull back when I put it in park. Alright, so when this pull back and I press this, it will release this cam so that I can turn, and this will actually let go first. This will let go, so now I can turn the key to the lock position and remove. But somehow I think there's something wrong with this plunger over here, this one here. Somehow it's not letting this go, or maybe the cam ran out of position, I don't know. So I'm going to just put a little bit of super lube grease, right, like my favorite grease. I'm going to put it some over here and reassemble it back in the correct position and see what happens. I think that's all I can do for now, because I don't see anything wrong with this plunger either. When there's no power right now, it's moving very smoothly. So I'm just going to grease this up a little bit also, and put it back together with the spring and everything, and see how it goes. But anyway, since I have this open and this has so much slop, I'm just going to rebuild this anyway. Alright, okay, so I greased up the mechanism, the hinge points, and this is supposed to be the ACC position. So both cams are both levers are engaged to the corresponding closest cam point, cam lock point. So, and this is in the ACC position. So as you can see from the ACC position, with this aligned, the direction of the key and the hole at the back seems to be in the correct, hang on, how do I show this? Yeah, seems to be in the correct angle, so it will match up. So I'm going to try to put this back together and test it. Okay, so now I put it in, and I'm going to simulate what's happening. So I'm for sure that this is not the problem. So this is the problem. This plunger over here somehow is getting stuck. Now in lock position, of course in lock position I can pull the key out, no problem. So what happened is, when I turn it to ACC, you can see this button pops out, and the solenoid should be pressing this way, like this, right? Pressing in so the cam cannot turn. So let's say I put it, it's not getting the signal to let go of the solenoid, so I cannot turn the lock. Now I can't turn. So let's say I got the signal and the solenoid goes in and the spring pushes this open, this lever open. I press this, I can release. So for sure the problem is coming from here. Now I have to figure out, is it because the spring has become weak that it's not pushing this? Because I think the plunger is okay. And okay, I'll see how it goes. Okay, I put back the solenoid. So there's no power now because the battery is still not connected. But I've now the key in the on position, and ACC I cannot release. I press the button, I can go to lock, so I can remove the key. Alright, so now we know for sure that the problem is coming from this area here. It's not the box itself, but the mechanism in there. Alright, so one more time, cannot release, press button, release. So I'm gonna put back all this ignition switch and this ring over here for the light, key light. Remember, I need to turn back to ACC and then put back the switch, because that was the last position that I removed it in. Okay, a little tip for certain area that is very hard to reach. Because I cannot, this screwdriver is a bit too long to fit in here. As you can see, it's touching over here. What I did was, I bought a cheap screwdriver set with these short heads, right? I put it in here and I use a plier to hold the back of this and loosen. You don't need that much torque on this, right? So one area here and another area here for this switch, I couldn't access with a normal screwdriver as the distance is too small. So I use this system with a plier and it works. Alright. Okay, just to show you what the actual problem is, pay attention to this spring over here. It goes inside this hole over here. And if you look closely at this lever, arm lever, the internal part of the spring needs to sit in this guide, and it's quite short. So what happened, I think this spring came out from this guide, right? So now make sure that it sits correctly inside, and when I press, you see that the lever disengages. So this is the position it's supposed to be in when there's no power. When there's no power, right? So that will happen when the selector is in P. So this will happen, and then you can turn the key to lock and remove the key. So now I'm going to put back the cover for it. It's looks like this. This is the cover, right? It's this way, and this will cover the back of the spring over here, right? Okay, I'm going to proceed to remove the shifter assembly. So the important thing is to have a datum point. For my case, I'm going to leave it in park, alright, because it's the safest position. So when I put it back, everything together, I need to leave it in park also and connect the lever below. So I'm going to go underneath the car now, jack it up, and mark the position of the lever, then nut to the lever, and if it's and remove it. So I'm under the car now. I need to mark the position of this lever on a nut, and then I loosen the nut, and I can remove the whole shifter assembly. So first job now, mark. Okay, open up. Okay, I got the whole shifter assembly out. It's just 4 screws, okay, as I shown earlier, and I need to pry the screwdriver here because after 30 years this rubber gasket is stuck to the metal. So now I can work on this shifter bushing underneath here, and I'm going to clean up this area also. So I'm going to start to this and maybe rebuild this switch also. This switch is the parking position switch. Alright. Okay, some words of advice. Since we have everything here taken off and we have access, you can see one grounding wire here. So might as well just remove this and sand the bottom of the connector here just to make it a bit more conductive. We don't want any future problems where we have to remove this and do this again. So since it's clear to access now, we can do it. Alright. And then the next thing is I'm going to cover this hole up because I don't want any roaches or insects to waltz inside the cabin. So I'm going to cover it with some Gorilla tape. Alright, since I'm going to take quite some time to put it back together. Alright, I've covered up the hole. So sorry insects, no free stay for you in the hotel Toyota Soarer. Over and out. This is a shifter assembly removed. And you can see this huge amount of slop over here. I'm going to have to remove this rubber first and then access the bushing inside here. Okay, to remove this rubber grommet is a bit tricky. You have to remove the bushing inside here. This little bushing, alright, you can see here. So just push it out like that and use a small plier to pull it out. And you need to release this rubber over here by using the plier and compress it and push it inside here and pull, right, like this. It's like a grommet at one go. Okay, I got the rubber boot out, and now we can see the place where the bushing is supposed to go in. Looks like the whole old bushing has disintegrated completely. So I'm going to open this nut and this bolt and slide it out and install the new bushings that I just got. Alright. Okay, I got the screw off, and this is the shaft inside. It's a hollow kind of bushing sleeve, and as you can see, there's no bushing in between at all. It's completely gone. So I'm going to have to remove this, clean this up, and put a new bushing and put some super loop grease. Okay, studying the system, this bushing is supposed to go inside this shaft over here, this housing for the selector, one side and two side, and this sleeve pin is going inside the bushing. So this bushing is supposed to slide on here. This pin is not supposed to move. This pin is supposed to stay stationary together with this screw shaft here. So once you tighten this up with a nut, all this will not move. Only the bushing will move with this selector over here. So we're going to grease up the bushing inside here. Only the inside, not the outside. I'll put this super loop grease into this area of the bushing on both sides, and then gonna slide in this shaft. So the bushing is in with the grease, so I'm gonna proceed to put in the shaft and the nut. Okay, a few interesting things I've noticed about this trans shifter. Alright, this is the what you call it, shift lock bypass. It's so that you can shift the transmission when the car is off. So when you press this, it separates the lever from the solenoid, so you can shift the selector to any position you want. You have to press this, right? So right now the solenoid is locking this in the park position. Right now I cannot release this, even I press the button, I cannot release. Right, the way to release it is I need to activate here, this, and then I can release. So once it's done, now I can go to R, I can go to N, D, 2 and L. No issue. Okay, and if you look here at this opening over here, it actually allows you to shift between, this is position 2, D and N, only up to D and 2 you can shift without pressing this release button. So when you go to 2, you can stop until here, but you cannot go to 1. So you want to go to 1, you need to press the button which moves the plunger down, and you move to 1 and it will stop here. Alright, so if you want to move back to 2, you don't have to press the button, you can just push it forward from to 2 and then go to D and then go to N. For reverse, you need to press and then push the lever to reverse and it will go to reverse. Right, and then to park, again you need to activate the solenoid. Right, so you need to activate the solenoid, and then only you can go to P. The solenoid is activated by the brakes. Right, the next order of business, I'm going to remove this switch over here and have a look at it and see if I can clean up and lubricate it with a super lube grease, and maybe even have a look at the solenoid behind it. So I've taken apart this switch thing with this it's kind of like a striker, plastic striker. Everything seems to be in good condition. Right, this, it's possible to take this apart, but it seems to be quite difficult. You have to pry open here so that the tabs can come out and you can pull this out, but I don't want to take the risk because I think this is okay, this is working fine. And if you can see inside there, there's a track over there. So this is probably the park position. If you go to all the way to the top, is the park position, right? And this striker will sit inside here like this, through the fork like that, right? And this opening here will sit here. Alright, this is where the park position is, and this is the highest position it will be. The grooves inside here will stop this piece from moving too far out, and also this will stop here. Right, and this is this plastic striker that is connected to the solenoid. When you press your brake, this will release, and if you, how do I say this? Yeah, in a normal position this cannot go up, right? It will stay down here. So it will stay down because behind there's a groove, and it will go into the groove over here and stop it from moving up. So the only way for it to move up is you press the brake and the plunger will go down, and this one can come up. Maybe I show you. I press this. Right, so now this is in not in R, reverse, and the plunger is holding this down here. So the plunger holding this down, you cannot go in. Right, the only way that you can go in here is this plunger releases, and this goes somewhere here. Now it's free to be pushed up by the striker. When you press the knob and you go in here like that, right, you will push this striker up and you will move this plastic piece and tell the system it's in park. All right, so I'm going to grease up certain areas here to make sure it slides smoothly, and with super lube grease, right, and put everything back together. Okay, a tip: grease the lower track and the upper track, because when you press the button, this plunger is going to ride on the lower track. Right, when you let go, it's going to ride on the upper track. So this is the important point you need to grease. I use super lube again, my favorite grease. It's a very good grease, synthetic, right? And don't grease this plunger because we need the friction to engage with the stopper behind here. I've already greased the front part. I'm just going to grease a little bit over here, but not here because this is where the plunger will sit. Okay, I put back the switch. Everything is in place. It's moving smoothly. And don't forget to grease this area here, the plate, because the back part of the plate where it makes contact with the side of the gear, the lever, it will keep rubbing against here, so grease this area. Right, now there's no more side to side play, only front to back there's a little, but side to side completely no play at all, so it will rub against this more. So the grease is very important. Right, now about this lower pivot point, I thought that this also will be loose, but this seems to be okay. It feels very tight and it's moving smoothly. So I'm just going to take this apart and re-grease the bush and reuse this, even though I'll order new ones. This will save me a lot of time. Okay, Sunday morning, and I got the shifter, rebuilt shifter ready, and I'm going to sand this grounding cable since I have access to it. Just sand it a bit, and then I'm going to put it back, and then I'm going to reinstall the shifter and plug it all back up and turn on the power, and just to check whether I can remove the key, and move the shifter a few times and see if I can remove the key. Important note is that since I'm not going to attach this lever back yet, so it's important not to start the car, because the gearbox will not shift and it might get confused as to which gear it's in. So just to turn it to on, not to start, to check and see whether the key will come out. If it does, then I can screw back this lever. And it's important also to when after tightening this, just to make sure that the gearbox is going into the correct gear. You need to press the brake when you start the car to make sure that, just in case it goes to the wrong gear, maybe reverse or drive unexpectedly, so you will not slam the car against the wall. So it's very important. Okay, I've got this shifter mechanism in, and as you can see, there's some back and forth slop. I think this is normal, but side to side, no slop at all. Side to side, it's very tight, so this is good. So I connected the connector from the chassis, which is going to the gearbox. Two of these. This just ignore this. This is nothing to do with the gearbox, right? And then now I'm going to plug back the battery power. Plug back the battery power, and we're going to test the system. Okay, I have the battery reconnected. As you can see, the warning lights are coming on and the interior lights on. So now is the moment of truth. We'll insert the key. Alright, turn to ACC. Stereo's turning on. I'm going to turn it off. Then I'm going to turn one more notch just to see where's the position of the shifter. So it's showing it's in park. Alright, let me shift release this. It's not shifting because the lever is not connected. Alright, So I'm going to turn this key now to ACC, and I try to remove, I can't. I press this, cannot, because it's not in park. So I'm going to put it in park, and then I'm going to press this button, it comes off. So far it seems the problem is solved. Next step is I'm going to put back the lever, and I'm going to test the car, drive it around a block, one round block, and come back and see whether I can remove the key. Okay, I'm under the car now. I managed to line up the marks the best I can. I think they're off maybe by 1mm, but I think it should be good enough. A little tip is to use a ring spanner down here because the space is really tight with the exhaust pipe over here. Alright, so use a ring spanner and tighten it as tight as you can go. We don't want this thing coming loose and messing up your gear selection. We don't want it to be going into reverse when it's not supposed to. So now I can test the car with the gearbox on, and you can see there's no more side-to-side slop at all. Previously there was a lot of slop side-to-side. Now it's tight. So now I'm gonna lower the car and go inside the car and test it. Okay, the shifter mechanism is connected, so I'm gonna try it now. Still without starting. So turn the key to ACC and on. So it's in park position. See, I press the brakes now. I can shift to R. It's shifting to R. The reverse buzzer is coming on, it's correct. And then I'm going to shift to N, it's correct. D, correct. 2, correct. L, correct. So everything seems to be in place, in the correct position. Alright, this is D, N, R, reverse buzzer is on, with the brakes on. And now I'm going to P. So let's say I press the brake, I go to R, I don't press the brake, I try to go to P. Oops, it can. Okay, N, R, P. Maybe I need to turn the car on. Anyway, so now I'm going to try to turn to ACC. Alright, the meter is off. And now, press this and okay, it works. Final test is to drive the car. So I can safely say that it looks like it's working. That's the only problem is the plunger. Right. Okay, I'm gonna test drive the car now. I have to put back this this switch because it's not showing here the normal power and econ mode. So when I'm gonna come back for one round and see whether I can pull out the key. See, the car has warmed up a bit and I took one round around the block. So now it's time to turn off the engine and see if I can remove the key. Okay, it's now at ACC. So alright, it's out, it's working. So I can it's working, so I can put back all the trim over here, and yeah, the car's okay. Alright, finally